Okay, so my name is Emily Coyne and I am the researcher for this project. I want to thank you for agreeing to participate in today's interview. A few things before we get started. We would like to record your session today, so excerpts of these recordings will only be shared within the class. If you have any questions about this, please let me know. Otherwise, we're ready to begin. Do we have any questions before we get started?
No.
Okay, perfect. So I am here with my friend Emerson, who recently just moved to Boston for her new job, and she works in digital media consulting, which is pretty much what my area of focus is. So I'm just going to go through a few questions talking about your experience in the past couple months and just answer these honestly, and we're just going to have a conversation. So the first one is, how has your experience with COVID-19 been this year?
I'd say it's definitely been different considering I just graduated. So there's, I was expecting to go into the city right away and, go into an office and work with a bunch of young, cool people. But that obviously couldn't really happen. I lived at home a little bit longer than I was anticipating. But then finally now I'm in the city and it's been so cool being here. But it's still different because I'm working in my apartment. No one's going into the offices yet. So I haven't met as many people as I would like. But the company I work for has definitely done a great job, trying to get all the new employees involved. And we do a bunch of Zoom meetings. And then they schedule events for us to meet and go out together, obviously, to outdoor places around the city. And we do things in the parks. So I've definitely still gotten to know some people, but yeah, it's for sure impacted my work environment, especially being new to the city.
Absolutely. So I know you kind of mentioned your job and how everything has been moved virtually. How was that adjusting? Did they give you any resources, any tools, any Zoom etiquette? Were you given a monitor? If you could just expand upon that whole situation.
Yeah, so I do have a computer that I use for work. And then we'll just do Zoom calls on there as well. We also do a lot of instant messaging, so we use a bunch of just different instant messaging tools. So it's really easy to connect with everyone right away, right off the bat. If there's ever any question, you just ping someone like you would at the office. So in the sense of connecting, it's still been pretty simple and easy. But yeah, no, I do have a work computer that I use, and then if I just have any additional information or any additional things that I need to learn myself, I'll just do it on my Mac computer.
For sure. So now I just kind of want to talk about, since you're in your early 20s, how has COVID-19 affected your specific age group? Would you say that it's had a big impact, a little impact? I know obviously your whole job was moved virtually, so separate from that, do you know people whose lives have really changed? If you could just talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, no, I completely think everything's changed. My brother goes to the University of New Hampshire, and his entire college experience is completely different now, especially with internships search and his job. He interned for Raytheon Technologies in Massachusetts, and his experience is completely virtual. So I know he had a lot of difficulty too interacting with the fellow interns and kind of getting immersed into the company. In terms of the 20-year-olds, I know a lot of kids for college can't go back, and if they can, everything's virtually, which definitely I think takes away from a lot of the college experience. But I don't know. And then in terms of living in Boston now, obviously got changed. There weren't as many people here in the city right when I got here, and obviously a bunch of 20-something-year-olds want to go out and want to get to know people and want to immerse themselves fully into the city. And I think right now that is difficult, especially with there's only so much room for seats outside for restaurants right now and stuff. So yeah, the social scene's definitely changed a lot, and the work scene. I think a lot of people, I'm just blessed I had a job out of school, but I think a lot of people are super stressed out in the job search.
For sure, and you kind of just touched upon that, but it's just transitioning into the next question. So how has the move been? I know that you were from a smaller town in New Hampshire and then transitioning into a big city. Have there been a lot more negatives or positives, and which one would you say it's been more positive or more negative?
Yeah, well, growing up, we always went to Boston just for weekends, and I really knew a lot about the city. And when I was in school, the whole time, I always just wanted to live in Boston right when I left. So I'm not directly in the city. There is a little bit of a T. We call it like the train stations there. We call it the T. So I do have to take the T. It's like a 5-minute ride into the city. Definitely more positives, especially after living with my parents for a couple months when I wasn't expecting to. Being in the city has been great, and it still is alive. I think if I was there a couple months ago, it would have been really dead. But right now, I mean, the kids are still going out, and Boston's a very, very young city, so there are a lot of people my age around, and yeah, definitely the positives outweigh the negatives in terms of being back, and I'm so happy and so fortunate I can live here, and I have the best roommates from school. So overall, it's been a really, really positive experience being back in the city, and it's where I've always wanted to be. So I'm just so grateful that I can finally be here.
Yes, and that's really good. So how we're going to talk about just some things with your involvement. So were you involved really, and this it's a broad question, at all in your hometown, or have you gotten involved recently moving to Boston? I know it can be difficult meeting new people, so have you joined like any clubs, any like exercise groups? Do you go out of your way to like, find similar people who think the same way as you? What could you expand upon that?
Yeah, so within work, I have met a few people my age, and also when I interned for the company, I met some kids, and then we all ended up getting positions. So I definitely knew some of those kids, and then I think it's all about connections, and you meet those kids' friends, and also being from New Hampshire, a lot of kids go into Boston after school, so I already have people that I knew from high school or from college that are all in Boston. And then also in terms of getting involved around Boston, I'm really into fitness and working out. And while, SoulCycle and all those workout classes that I would love to take aren't running as much right now, there are actually a lot of personal trainers who are doing like outdoor workouts. So I've been doing those with my friends, and we use this app where you can easily sign up for the classes, and then you just go and it's all outdoors. We have a lot of them in the parks. And I mean, so in terms of working out, yes, I've been getting involved a lot, trying to go to workout classes and just honestly meeting people there. They're kids my age taking them, so I meet a lot of people through that. Did I answer that question?
Yeah, no, that was good. So, if you were to this is a hypothetical question, since there's a lot going on right now in the world with, like the BLM movement and like helping those who have really been affected by this pandemic and maybe don't have the necessary resources, stuff like that. If you were to get involved with a group virtually, like with similar beliefs, would that interest you at all, getting involved in something like that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I would totally. I'm all for the Black Lives Matter movement, and just everything that's been going on right now. I know it is a crazy time, and I don't want to put anyone else in harm in terms of COVID, but yeah, no, I would definitely get involved with something like that virtually. I'm really passionate about it, and I really do care, and I'd love for there to be ways for me to get involved as well.
For sure. Okay, so now I'm just going to go through some wants and needs, and these are like a little bit more broader and then some more specific questions. So do you feel like you thrive in small groups or large group settings?
I'd say I probably, in terms of work, thrive more in small group settings. I think when you get large groups, it can get overwhelming, and I like to take the leadership role many times, so sometimes in larger groups, I find that hard to stay organized and on top of it. But in terms of social settings, I obviously love large groups. Not right now during COVID, but
right.
I love going out with a bunch of people and just having a large friend group and always people to go to when needed.
For sure. So if you were to say like be working on a group project, or you're working something passionate, helping people, would you say that you're more behind the scenes contributor, or are you an upfront, outspoken advocate?
For sure, upfront and outspoken. I definitely like to always give my opinions and be very, very present in all group work that I do. So I'm definitely more someone who takes the lead and tries to stand out as much as possible when working in a group.
And would you say that that's helped with your current job? Has that been a strength? Is that something that helped you get the job?
Yeah, for sure. Especially during when I was an intern. I think if I stepped back a little bit, like if I was, I don't know how to say it, but if I was less involved, then I don't think I would have gotten a full-time offer. I think these companies love to see people who are very much so leaders and show a lot of leadership experience. So, yeah, I think that's really helped in the workplace, especially with my job and receiving a full-time offer right out of junior year.
Right. Okay, so are you currently restricted at home because of COVID-19? I know you're living in an apartment right now, and you were with your parents for a little bit during the pandemic, but are you still able to kind of go in and out of your apartment, or are you mostly just staying in?
No, we're still going out. We're doing all outdoor stuff. I'm not extremely comfortable yet with being inside, but one of the ways Boston got everything so under control was by wearing masks. Like even in New Hampshire, people on the streets weren't wearing masks. Like if you were to just walk on the street, like not many people had masks on. But in Boston, like the second you leave your apartment, like you have a mask on. Everyone has masks on. So yeah, I've definitely still been going out and doing things, but obviously safely, as for everyone else. And that's how I think we got it under control pretty quickly, because it definitely got affected in Massachusetts.
For sure. So if you were to get involved with something, would you meet with small groups that were socially distanced with masks, or are you not comfortable with that, and would you prefer to do it virtually?
I would meet with groups of people outside. We've done a lot of like picnics type deals and, going to the parks. So yeah, if it's a small group, socially distanced, I'm totally okay with that. I think it's hard to do everything virtually nowadays, especially when I am in a big city and there are so many people around me. Staying cooped up in my apartment is kind of the last thing I want to do. So I try to get out as much as I can, even if that's going on 6 walks a day. Like I will do that
for sure.
And I will meet my friends and get coffee and stuff.
So how much do you feel you currently care about your safety during this pandemic? Are you more concerned with your health or the people's health around you? And it could also just be both.
Probably both. I know when I was at home, I was way more concerned about bringing anything back to my parents. So my brother and I both kept, stayed very careful at home. My family took the pandemic very seriously, and definitely being in Boston and being with a bunch of roommates, it's kind of hard to be as careful, but we still are following all the CDC guidelines and being as careful as possible. Wait, what was the question?
Yeah, no, you answered that. So if you could just walk us through what your everyday life looks like for a work day in the midst of the pandemic. Do you exercise? Do you still get out? And then are you like hopping on calls, meetings, stuff like that? Just if you could just walk us through that whole schedule.
Yeah, so usually I wake up around like 6:37, and I'm a very active person, so I like to do a workout. I'll usually just do a YouTube video, or I'll go on a run, and then I'll make coffee and breakfast, and then I start my workday around. I have a typical 9 to 5 job, but sometimes I clock in early just to get some more hours. We also have every other Friday off, so if I get more hours earlier, then I can only have a half day some Fridays, or no Fridays, which is really nice. So yeah, I wake up, work out, get some coffee, and then I'll usually just work all day and do a lunch break around 12, and usually my roommates and I will just kind of go for a walk around then too, to get outside, because you're just cooped up for so long. In Boston, it's already starting to get kind of chilly, so we want to take advantage of the sun as much as we can right now. So then yeah, we'll do lunch, and I try to eat in terms of breakfast and lunch as much as I can, because I am right out of college and obviously, not making insane amounts of money. So I do try to save as much as I can. And then after lunch, work again, and usually I'm done around 5 or 6, depending on how long I want to work. And then, yeah, usually my roommates and I will just do dinner, and then we'll probably go on another walk at some point. And yeah, that's pretty much my day. And then I go to bed. Or if it's like a Friday, we'll go into the city and we'll do something like a dinner, or go to an outdoor bar and meet up with some friends.
Right, perfect. That was great. Okay, and then kind of going off of that, would you say that, I know this has been a big issue for especially young professionals, and for you being in a new job, are you struggling to separate your personal life from your work? I know a lot of people were saying when you're working from home, it's like this never-ending spiral of like, my work is my home and my home is my work. So have you been able to separate that, and have there been any struggles that come with that, and kind of learning like a time management and having, barriers that you give yourself?
Yeah, no, it's definitely been a little difficult separating it, just because I am someone who, like, even in college when I would do work, I would always go to Starbucks and always do homework somewhere other than my room. I don't like working in my room. I need a separate environment for school and for work. I need those two lives to be completely different. So it has been kind of difficult working from my room. But, I mean, we're making it work, and I'm doing the best I can, and I do try to, like I said, get out as much as I can. And then in terms of my social life, like I said earlier, I'm not directly in the city. I do have to take a T in. So when I am going into the city, I know I'm going in to be social. So it does kind of separate that at-home work life. And then my social life is when I go into the city, and that's when I know, like, I'm going for a night or I'm going for dinner, and that's solely just being social, not work related.
For sure. So switching back kind of to what we were touching upon earlier with the Black Lives Matter movement, and kind of just going into some social justice issues in general, or you could even relate it back to the pandemic. I know that you said that you were pretty passionate about the Black Lives Matter movement. So what kind of, would you say, if you were to help or get involved, are you someone that wants like something on a large scale, like you want to globally make a difference, or are you smaller and more local scale where you can just like help the people around you?
Right now, definitely more local.
Sorry, as you were saying, there was some technical issues, but I was just asking you about globally and making a difference in your community.
Yeah, so for sure more locally. I haven't specifically started anything myself, but I have gotten involved. Like I said, I wasn't in Boston for all the protests, but I definitely would have gone if it could be socially distanced. But I would say right now, more looking at the local scale than global scale in terms of getting involved with the Black Lives Matter movement.
For sure. And so how has this movement affected you personally? It doesn't have to be like an experience, but more of just like, have you been able to educate yourself or just like learn more about the cause in general? How would you say that you've kind of taken this and made it your own?
For sure. I mean, being from New Hampshire, I'm in a very, like, there's no diversity where I grew up, and it's horrible. But so I definitely was not educated on Black Lives Matter movement or the issues at all. And from this movement, I've started listening to podcasts. A bunch of girls I listen to are around my age, and they do podcasts, and they've mentioned a lot of like Black-owned businesses, and then they're also bringing on like Black-owned females who own their own businesses, and it's just been really inspiring to learn all about the movement and just about, I don't know, it's been really cool seeing how much of an impact people have made through this movement, and I definitely have become way more educated and aware of the things I say, do, and then the things other people say and do as well.
Absolutely. So as a young professional, do you feel as though this message resonates with the people in the same age group or field, or do you think that the message is lost upon them? Do you think that it's more of an issue of people who are older, younger? Do you think you're at a good spot? You don't have to know.
I think it's definitely, I think the younger generation our generation is the generation that's going to make an impact. Even talking to my grandmother, I think a lot of people are very old-fashioned when it comes to many things, and I think our generation is the generation that's most aware of these issues, and we're starting young becoming aware, and I think we're really the generation that is going to make an impact and is going to truly change the world. Even just seen on social media and seen from people I know from high school and college, like already doing things and already making an impact is truly inspirational. And I think if anything, our generation is going to change is going to work to fix all these issues and educate ourselves.
Perfect. Okay, so last two questions, just finishing up the interview. If you were to get involved somehow, would you say that you would like to financially make a difference, whereas like you would be giving a donation or something like that? Or at this stage in your life, I know that you've just started a new job, you're living in Boston, would you be more willing to give your time, maybe more valuable at this point in your life?
Yeah, definitely time right now. Obviously, one day I would love to be able to donate. I think any awareness is great. Any raising awareness, whether you're posting something on social media or reposting something or talking to your grandmother about it. Like, you're still raising awareness. You're still talking to people, talking to your friend about it, talking about it with your roommates. Like, you're all becoming aware of the situation. And I think right now, even if I'm not donating financially, I think just verbally talking about it and advocating for it and being an ally is the best I can do. And I think the littlest things can make such a big difference in the long term.
Yeah. Okay. And so then the last question, this just has to do with social media. What is the most ideal platform for you to share your voice? Are you on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat? Where do you get your information?
I would say Instagram for me is where I get a lot of my information. I think if I'm trying to share something, and it depends on what age group I want to share to. I mean, a lot of times I'm reposting and sharing my opinions on Instagram, but then if I'm trying to reach a larger scale and reach a lot of the older population, I will repost a lot on Facebook, and I'll also speak my mind on Facebook as well, and repost things I care about, all while being considerate of the people around me. And I think everyone is allowed to have their own opinions and share what they believe in. So, but I'd say Instagram for the most part is where I do most of my sharing and thoughts.
And would you say that social media is effective for this message, like for social justice issues or for the pandemic, anything like that?
Yeah, I think it definitely is. And I think some people don't think it is, because I know a lot of people that are like, oh, well, you're just reposting. You're just doing this to, do the chain. And because everyone's doing it, you just want to hop on the bandwagon and it doesn't mean anything to them. Well, even if it doesn't mean anything to them, they're still reposting it. And maybe that one person that saw it didn't know about it and saw it. And I think anything helps. I think any reposting, any message really does make a difference. And regardless if the person is truly passionate about it or not, which they all should be. If you're reposting it, you should never repost for a bandwagon effect. But I think any post, any repost, any donation, fundraiser, I think that all makes a difference. And even in myself, I only repost what I'm passionate about, but sometimes, I'll be scrolling through my Instagram stories, for instance, and I'll see a girl posted something. I'm never really thinking, oh, does she truly care about it or not? I just see it and I'm like, holy crap, I didn't know that. That's so cool. And I'm not even looking who posted it. I'm learning the fact from an account that I wasn't following, but I just happened to see, and now I'm that much more aware.
Perfect. Yes, exactly. Well, okay, those were all of the questions that I had. So I just want to thank you for being so open and honest and giving us your time and willing to answer some of these questions. I know that you are in the perfect position for me for this questions and for this interview, moving to Boston and everything like that. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. I hope everything's going great at Miami. I know it's probably really crazy this time of year, but I wish you the best for the rest of the semester, and I'm so happy I could help you.
Absolutely. Well, we will catch up soon. So thank you so much.
Of course. Bye.